Hello, everybody. Here to talk some Star Wars, Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. I have the showrunners for the upcoming Lego Rebuild the Galaxy joining me today. Thanks for taking the time, gentlemen. Dan Hernandez, Benji Samit. It's great to talk some Star Wars with you two.
Great to be here. Thank you for having us.
Really pumped to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I want to start off by talking a little bit about the Lego property and the way that dovetails into Star Wars and the opportunities it brings, right? You talk about having the ability to build with Jedi builders and be able to, in this case, rebuild the galaxy, change things around, just like we always used to do with our Legos when we were kids, tear them apart, rebuild new things. Can you talk a little bit about the opportunity, storytelling wise, that provided you too?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you said was the inception point of this whole thing, which is it possible for we wanted to do something big to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Lego Star Wars partnership. And what we immediately started talking about was, could we recreate that feeling of being a kid and dumping out your bin of Star Wars Lego and building your own galaxy, like you making up whatever you want to do and having that power. And so yeah, it felt like a great jumping off point to actually tell a story that was about something, that was about, building and changing things and things breaking and things being different and living with the consequences of what happens when something changes. And so much of it is like foundational to the Lego brick itself and the Lego medium, whereas like no other like any other toy, like if you break it, it's broken. If you
Yeah.
you build a beautiful model like from a model kit, and if it smashes, like there's no going back. But the beauty of Lego is like you can, spend hours and hours and hours building this amazing thing, and then you can just drop it, smash it, but it's not done. You can always rebuild. And every time you rebuild, maybe it's a little different. But there was something so intrinsic in the Lego itself that it really opened up a whole story that we could tell.
And I would add to that feeling of play is also, if you watch the show, some of the backgrounds are painted backgrounds. There are cotton ball swabs for clouds at times. There's construction paper mountains. It's subtle, but if you look for it, you can notice it. And part of the reason that we did that is because we wanted it to sort of subtly suggest these are kids playing. This is a homemade Lego built world and galaxy that anyone has access to. And so it was very important to us to capture that feeling of play and the excitement of discovering as you're building.
Yeah.
I'm glad you bring that up because something else I wanted to ask you too about, certainly we're of a similar age. Discovering Star Wars at a young age really fires the imagination of young people, but it's been a beloved property for so long, and so many of us, not that we've aged out of Star Wars, but you certainly want to still have that feeling like you're talking about of bringing in, new fans and a younger generation that fires that imagination. They're the ones that are going to tell the Star Wars stories of the future. This is very sort of new viewer friendly, if you will, for somebody who's not that familiar. You don't need to have watched all the movies or the cartoons or anything that's come before. This kind of stands on its own. And then it is, a different galaxy. So you don't need to have those old tie-ins. Again, was that something that that was purposeful, that you wanted to be sure it was friendly for anybody discovering Star? I mean, this could be many young viewers' first exposure to Star Wars.
That's exactly right. And
Yep.
and that was at the forefront of our minds as we were crafting this, which is it's similar to Lego Star Wars as a brand itself. Like Lego Star Wars sets, they've got 18 plus sets for the most, extreme collector, adult, like detailed, giant, $800 Lego set models for adults. But then there's also, four plus like 4-year-old Lego sets that are Lego Star Wars that are meant to be, I think a lot of kids now, their first interaction with Star Wars is through Lego sets.
Hmm.
Uh, and so we wanted, if we were going to make a show that was a love letter to the Lego Star Wars community, it had to be the full swath of the community, from those adults to the kids and everyone in between, where there's something for everyone. So like, yes, do we have tons of, deep cut references for Lego fans and Star Wars fans? Yes, it's full of it. Any, Lego Star Wars loving adult will have plenty that they will love in this thing. But, it also is a great first Star Wars. I think it's going to be the first Star Wars that my kids watch and Dan's kids watch. Like, we really wanted it to be something that everyone could enjoy.
And I think one of the secretly great things that I think will invite new people, especially kids, to watch is that we got the opportunity to create 5 original characters. So it doesn't feel, I think, like it can sometimes feel where there's a high bar to entry on a certain kind of fandom or a certain kind of franchise where it's like, okay, let me tell you, in order to understand the movie that we're about to watch, we need to watch 20 other movies in order to fully get the story up to now. We said, no, we don't want to have to worry about that. If you get the references, if you get the sort of the Easter eggs, great. And we are doing that very much intentionally. But we also said, let's make a great Star Wars protagonist in Gaten Matarazzo, who I cannot say enough good things about. He is just the perfect mixture. He's such a great actor, but the perfect mixture of optimism, naivete, earnestness, but a secret toughness, a secret heroism. And that to me is one of the things that translates across every iteration of Star Wars is you have to invite people to really care about these characters. And I think for kids, they will feel ownership over these characters because they are going to be their characters. They are new characters that they can see themselves in, and the issues that they're going through are the same issues that I think that kids go through, which is my relationship with my brother, my feelings of not feeling brave and wanting other people to do something, and I'm going to fade into the background, and then suddenly saying, no, you have to be the person who is at the forefront of this story, or at the forefront of whatever experience that you're going to have. And so I think that that's also something that is universal and that will hopefully be accessible to people who are experiencing Star Wars and specifically Lego Star Wars for the first time.
Yeah, I'm glad you used that word, Dan, because I was thinking the same thing, especially for kind of younger viewers. Again, if this is their first exposure or at least an early exposure, that word used ownership, right? Hey, I saw the first Star Wars when I was, whatever, 6, 7 years old that had Sig in it, and so you feel a connection, more so. Whereas Luke's here too, for us older viewers, that may have been a favorite as well. But with these things that we're talking about, with trying to make it, friendly for newcomers to the Star Wars and also that balance of Star Wars references, Lego references, does there come a challenge in storytelling to make sure you've got all that touch points, but it's not just a checklist that you're allowing the story to kind of organically develop?
Yeah, I mean, that was an important part of the process where, look, it would have been very easy to just make this like almost a series of like sketches of little silly what ifs in the Star Wars universe of like, look at this little thing with Jar Jar, look at this, look at that. But I feel like that would have maybe gotten old quickly or not felt as special. It was important to us from the get-go that at the heart of this there was a real emotional actual Star Wars story, a big fun journey to put some original characters on and let everything else serve the story. And that was the main thing that we kept in mind. It's like, do these bits serve the story, or are they just silly for silly's sake? And there's a few silly things that are definitely still in there, but for the most part, the stuff that lasted through the end was the stuff that really added to these characters' journey and the story that we were trying to tell.
Yeah, and going back to this idea of stuff for longtime Star Wars fans like myself, again, don't want to spoil everybody. We want you to check it out on this Friday when it drops, Friday the 13th. But when we won't even say who the clone troopers are, but when the clone troopers take their helmet off and give that line, I was dying. It was so great. That was so amazing.
I mean, when we first wrote that, we were also cracking up, like in the writing process.
But that's a great example of, if you get it from the context of the past stuff, it's funny. But I also think if you have never seen it, it's still quite
Yeah.
funny because it's just silly and unexpected and oh, I don't really understand what's going on here. But that's the same feeling that Sig, the main character, is also having in that moment of I don't understand what's happening. And there's a
Yeah.
disorientation that I think is fun to see unfurl. And so we were very cognizant of saying, hey, you know what? If this is our only opportunity to tell a great Star Wars story, then let's not leave anything on the table and let's really, really go for it. And I think that's one of the things we're the proudest about.
Yeah, and again, it had to be a lot of fun too because you're taking familiar characters, and you get because it's a different galaxy, different sort of reality or history, role kind of unfurled in a different way. You're getting to take characters we know, Darth Vader, for example, and you get to have a twist on them, and kind of reinvent them. How much fun was that as longtime Star Wars fans? Kind of put your stamp on it.
It was amazing. It was, an opportunity for us to uh, not just play with the characters that we know and love, but yeah, put our own little spin on them and also be able to do things like Darth Jar Jar, for instance, which is, a longtime fan theory, and we just as
Yeah.
fans had fun for years talking about it, and it was just like a playful thing. But then very early on in the process of this, when we realized, well, wait a second, if we're shaking up the whole Star Wars galaxy, this might be the only opportunity ever to
Yeah.
actually do Darth Jar Jar. And we got very excited and we got nervous that surely someone will say no to that. But no, Lucasfilm understood. Like, no, that's the promise of this special is having fun like that.
And I would also add to that getting to play with characters that I wanted to see more of, that I felt like I wanted to spend more time with. Rose Tico, Janna, Grievous, people that were sort of favorites of mine and Benji's that we said, oh, you know what? We actually have an opportunity to see a different side of those characters or to spend more time or to see what a bounty hunter 3PO might be like in this version of the galaxy. And that was really rewarding for us as well because it did feel like playing with toys a little bit because, at a certain point they told us we had to stop because we wanted to put every character
Yeah.
that's ever appeared on screen in it in some way, shape, or form. So we had to ultimately, whittle down the list to the essentials. But the ones that stayed, as Benji said, were our favorites and also the ones that really supported the story that we were trying to tell with the original characters.
Yeah, when it comes to characters, I mean, Star Wars has been sort of blessed, especially the original trilogy, of having just some fantastically talented actors. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention the loss this week of James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader for all time, and just an incredibly talented man. You have an incredibly talented cast here as well. Mentioned the voice of Sig Gatton, but also the voice of Dev, Tony Revolori. I mentioned Luke Skywalker's in here, but the original voice of the original actor, portrayal Mark Hamill, and then Bobby Moynihan is Jedi Bob, another fantastic voice actor. When it comes to getting the most out of these actors, I mean, it's Star Wars, so I'm sure they're excited and they're up for the project. But do you have any certain kind of tips or advice that you give them to kind of get into the character? I mean, it is a very different animal from doing live action, doing this voice work. So give us a little behind the scenes. How do you feel like you can get the most out of your cast?
Well, it's a great question and one that we haven't been asked, which is also awesome. But I think there's a multi-pronged attack because you have different actors who have different levels of familiarity with Star Wars and what it's all about. And you also have returning legacy actors who are, and I will include the voice actors who have also appeared in other animated Star Wars content, the Clone Wars, Rebels, down Bad Batch, down the line.
Right.
So
There are plenty of our cast that are
old pros.
right. They know Star Wars, as well as if not way better than like we didn't need to tell Mark Hamill how to be Luke
Right,
Skywalker.
exactly.
He's showing up and it's like, oh, that is Luke. Like say with Ahmed Best coming in for Jar Jar, like we started when we first sat down with him, we're like, Yeah, so what do we think that like Darth Jar Jar sounds like? Like, how is it going to be different? And Ahmed was like, oh, he sounds like this, and Ahmed just did it, and we're like, yeah,
Yeah.
you, because he knows Jar Jar inside and out. He is Jar Jar,
Right.
and so there was very little we had to do, but
But then there were actors like Marseille Martin who were maybe not as versed in the deep lore, but then you start to say, okay, that's actually not a problem because I want you to make this character original. I want you to make it your own. And let's free yourself from the context of everything that's happened in the decades long history of Star Wars. You're making an original character. What will you do? What are your instincts? I can explain the scenarios and I can explain, here's a planet that I know all about that, but that's almost to the side. It's really about the emotion, the intention. It goes back to the most basic form of scene study in many ways. And it's funny because sometimes I look back at our own, Benji and I started writing together in college. And when I look back at high school and college, like, you know what? It's not the Krebs cycle that I'm going to the well on or algebra 2 or geometry. It's like our acting classes that have actually had more practical career relevance to us. And so when we start to break those things down for actors who maybe are not as versed in Star Wars, we can connect over sort of intention and emotion. And in the case of Marseille, her performance as Yessi Scala is brilliant. It's absolutely unbelievable. And I think that's because she didn't feel constrained by the weight of legacy. She was able to follow her own instincts and follow her own path and create a character that I think fits in beautifully in the greater Star Wars galaxy, but also is very specific to her and is a tonality that was great and necessary for our show, that Devil May Care person. And so I think that it really was just calibrating to every person and what their level of experience was and what their level of sort of how to get the best out of them in any given performance scenario.
Yeah, she definitely brought the sass. Marseille definitely brought the sass to Yessie. It was fantastic. Well, again, everybody, the series is coming out. It's a 4-part. It's coming out on Friday the 13th. And as we're winding down here, gentlemen, kind of one last thing. Maybe you have the same answer, maybe you have different answers, what have you. If I say, what are you most excited for? What part of the story? Maybe it's a scene, maybe it's a storyline, but a part of the story that you're most excited for people to experience because you want to hear what they have to say about it or what the reaction is. Again, we don't want to spoil, but does something come to mind that you can't wait to get a viewer reaction for?
I mean,
There's a lot, but
there's a lot. I think mine's a more, I guess, a broader thing. Is like I think I'm most excited for people to be what I hope will be pleasantly surprised by the fact that uh, there's I think maybe a much more robust and emotional story at the heart of this thing than you might necessarily think. It's not, like, yes, it is fun, silly Lego Star Wars stuff, but at a certain point while you're watching it, at least for me, and I start to forget at some times that I'm watching Lego, and it just feels like I'm watching a great, fun Star Wars adventure, and that's what I'm excited for people to experience.
I think I'm excited for people to get to know these new characters. And if I had to pick one, I'm excited for people to meet Servo, played by Mako Cusack.
Yes.
It's kind of the mascot of this special, and I think is such an interesting tonality for a new droid. It's a familiar shape, but with a new delivery system. I think, by, Corellia by way of Australia kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited for people to see just how funny and amazing Michael is in this special, and all the and Bobby as Jedi Bob. I mean, who really. I mean, I can't, and Gaten and Tony and Marseille. I mean, I'm excited for them to meet the new characters and hopefully feel like these people belong in Star Wars. That would be really satisfying for me.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody that hasn't seen or been away from Star Wars for a while, I think they might actually be surprised that these are new characters because they, like you mentioned, before, Benji, they fit so seamlessly. Like they feel like they belong. They feel like they've been here all along. We just haven't had a chance to meet them yet.
Well, thank you.
Well,
for
thank
saying
you.
that.
That means a lot to us. So thank you.
Yeah. So again, as we're winding down here, any last thoughts for the audience? Anything you want everybody to know?
Yeah, I just need everybody to watch the show, all 4 parts, straight through 400 or 500 times. Just leave the TV running. You don't have to be there. No, I'm joking.
We're just excited for everyone to see it, and it's very exciting that it's finally coming out after so many years of working on it. So.
If you don't have any idea how hard it is to not tell people you're working on your very own Star Wars for years, that's a daily struggle. So thankfully, we don't have to do that anymore.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure it's going to do gangbusters, gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time. And yeah, just it's a fantastic show. I really, really enjoyed it. So thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
So much.
And those were really thoughtful questions. So, we really, really appreciate that.
All right. Thank you.